They sent cops to evict him from his own family land, claiming he was trespassing. But he stood barefoot on his porch, laughing in their faces. With a utility bill in his hand and his address proving he lived outside their boundary, the cops froze while the HOA president's smug smile collapsed. She had forged documents, harassed him with drones, flooded his cabin with lights, even tried to bribe him into submission. But he wasn't just fighting back, he was exposing her. With bolt cutters snapping their steel barriers, cameras recording her threats, and fake maps ripped apart in front of the community, the truth exploded online. Neighbors rallied. The HOA's lies burned down, and her power crumbled. He didn't just defend his home. He destroyed her corruption and turned the entire neighborhood against her. This wasn't just survival. This was legacy, carved in defiance and fire. In the dimly lit shadows of his family's humble home, a lone figure stood on their porch, basking in the warm glow of an open fire. His bare feet pressed against the worn wooden planks, and as he raised the utility bill to his face, a smug smile spread across his lips. The HOA president sat at her desk in the conference room, surrounded by her staff and advisors, all too aware that their efforts were paying off. The phone rang, interrupting her moment of complacency. It was an urgent call from the police station, demanding that they arrest him immediately for trespassing on his own property. The HOA president's heart sank as she realized what would soon unfold. Despite claiming to live outside their boundary, he had made it home with a utility bill and a forged address. As the cops approached, the HOA president's facade faltered, revealing her true face. A thin woman in her early 40s, dressed in overalls and jeans. She stared back at them, her eyes cold as she raised her finger towards the phone. "I can't believe it," she said, voice shaking with determination. "You are trespassing on my property without permission. You must be arrested." The cops exchanged a look of confusion before quickly approaching him, their guns drawn in preparation for an arrest. As they approached, he heard the sound of bolt cutters snipping through his barriers and cameras recording her threats. "Stop!" the HOA president cried out, her voice shaking with anger. "My home is my sanctuary, where I can create a peaceful life away from the chaos you bring." The cops hesitated for a moment before charging forward, their guns trained on him. But he was not afraid. He had been preparing for this moment all week, and now that it finally arrived, everything fell into place. He lunged at them with his bolt cutters, slicing through the metal barriers in front of him. The sound echoed through the neighborhood, drawing attention to him as he fought back against their relentless attack. With each blow, he felt a surge of power coursing through his body, and for a moment, it seemed like all hope was lost. But then something unexpected happened. A group of neighbors arrived on the scene, armed with homemade weapons and ready to take down any threat that came their way. They surrounded him, their faces fierce as they prepared to defend their home against the HOA's corruption. The tension in the room grew thicker as each side clashed, bullets whizzing through the air. The cops fought back bravely, but it was clear that there was no escaping the fate of this showdown. In a final act of defiance, he lunged at them once again with his bolt cutters, slicing through their barriers and weapons in a desperate attempt to save himself and his home from destruction. As the chaos raged around him, a voice, "We stand together against corruption. We will not let you take our homes away." The HOA president's facade crumbled as she watched her once loyal employees turn on each other, their faces filled with anger and betrayal. With a single nod, they charged at the cops, forming an army of resistance that threatened to overwhelm them. In that moment, it seemed like all hope was lost, but then something unexpected happened. A group of community members emerged from nowhere, armed with homemade weapons and ready to take down any threat that came their way. As the two sides clashed, a sense of camaraderie bloomed within the neighborhood, as neighbors stood together against their common enemy. With each blow, they felt stronger, more united than ever before. In the end, it was not just about winning the battle for their homes, but also about standing up to corruption and injustice in their own community. The HOA's lies were exposed. Her power crumbled under the weight of truth and rebellion. And as they watched the police depart from his home with a sense of relief and pride, he knew that he had done something truly meaningful. For though it was just one showdown between two individuals, this story would become an example of what can happen when ordinary people rise up against corruption and injustice in their community. In the end, it wasn't about winning or losing, but rather about inspiring others to fight for a better future, no matter how difficult the journey may seem. Yet as the sun began to set on that fateful day, a group of concerned neighbors had gathered outside the man's home in quiet anticipation. They were not only tired from their intense battle with the armed intruders, but also frustrated by the HOA's unapologetic stance towards illegal trespassing. The police had arrived at his door, warning him to leave and threatening legal action if he continued his unauthorized activities on their cherished land. The neighbors knew that they couldn't allow this injustice to continue any longer. They were not just concerned about their own property, but also about the future of a community where everyone's safety was essential. As they gathered around, voices rang out in unison. "We can do something about it. We are not going to let him go unpunished." One neighbor, named Sarah, stepped forward and spoke with determination. She had heard whispers from several other neighbors about the man's involvement in illegal activities, including drug dealing and gun trafficking. With a deep breath, she began outlining their plan. "We need to gather evidence against this man, his associates, and any potential accomplices within our community. We must expose the truth and hold them accountable for their actions." The other neighbors echoed Sarah's words, eager to take action. They knew that they couldn't wait until police arrived or face arrest themselves. Instead, they would begin their own investigation by investigating every angle of his activities and gathering any information possible. With a sigh of relief, the man was approached by one of the neighbors named Ananya Dubois. "We understand your concerns," he said with a mix of fear and determination. "But we can't let this injustice continue unchecked." Ananya Dubois led the group in a thorough search of the neighborhood, looking for any evidence or witnesses to their allegations against the man. They scoured every corner, asking questions from passers-by, searching for anything that might help them prove their case. In the meantime, Sarah continued her investigation by interviewing local residents and conducting surveillance on the man's activities using hidden cameras and drones. She discovered a pattern of behavior that suggested he was involved in multiple criminal enterprises: drug dealing, weapon trafficking, and human trafficking. As they uncovered more evidence against him, tensions began to rise within the community. Some neighbors were supportive, eager to take action against injustice, while others remained skeptical or even resistant. Sarah knew that she needed a persuasive argument to convince them of her claims, so she decided to organize a meeting with local leaders and other influential figures in the HOA. During this meeting, they shared their concerns about the man's activities and presented an evidence-based case for why he was not authorized to be on their land. They emphasized that his actions were detrimental to both community safety and property values, as well as illegal. The response from the leaders varied. Some supported Sarah's claims, seeing it as a crucial step in holding individuals accountable for their actions. Others remained skeptical or dismissive, suggesting that they could not link him directly to any criminal enterprises. Despite these mixed reactions, Sarah remained steadfast in her pursuit of justice. She continued to gather information and coordinate with other residents who shared her concerns, working tirelessly to build a case against the man. One day, during their investigation, they stumbled upon an incriminating piece of evidence. Surveillance footage showing the man meeting with several individuals associated with drug trafficking rings in another city. Sarah was overjoyed at this discovery. It provided concrete proof that he not only engaged in illegal activities, but also facilitated criminal organizations. With renewed determination, Sarah organized a team to confront the man and his associates during an open court hearing. They gathered all the evidence they had collected and presented a compelling argument for their case against him. The judge was hesitant at first, unsure of whether to grant them bail or sentence the man to prison. However, after listening to their presentation and considering Sarah's testimony, he eventually agreed to release the man on condition that he comply with strict probation conditions. As the man left his courtroom, surrounded by a sea of skeptical faces, he felt a sense of relief wash over him. He knew that they had fought against an injustice for months, but this was finally the moment when their efforts would pay off. Sarah and her team continued to investigate the remaining members of the drug trafficking ring, determined not only to bring them down, but also to ensure justice for all those affected by his activities. One day, while conducting surveillance on a remote warehouse in another city, they stumbled upon a new development, an underground network of illegal weapons suppliers. Sarah realized that this was exactly what the man had been involved in, and she knew that he would soon be caught. With renewed determination, Sarah organized a raid on the warehouse, bringing down not just the drug dealers, but also the weapon supplier who manufactured his illicit firearms. As they arrested him, they handed over all the evidence to the police, including surveillance footage of the man meeting with various individuals associated with illegal weapons trafficking in their community. The trial for the man and the other members of the ring was held several months later, where a jury delivered a guilty verdict against them. The judge sentenced each of them to varying lengths of prison time, based on their involvement and severity of their crimes. In the aftermath of his conviction, the man's life changed forever. He had been forced to leave his beloved land behind and face the consequences of his actions for years. However, he knew that this was not just about him. It was also a call to action for others who might be struggling with similar issues. As Sarah stood before the crowd at the hearing, she thanked them for their support and determination in bringing down an injustice in her community. She reminded them of the power they had within themselves to effect change, no matter how difficult the journey may seem. For many, it was a turning point. They realized that they could stand together against corruption and oppression, no matter where it took them. As Sarah left the courtroom with a smile on her face, she knew that their fight for justice would continue, inspiring others to take action and make a difference in their own communities. And so, the story of this ordinary man who rose up against injustice in his community became not just an example, but also a beacon of hope. It showed that even in the darkest corners of society, individuals can come together and fight for what is right, no matter how difficult the journey may seem. As they looked back on their lives and the sacrifices they had made to bring down this man's reign of terror, they knew that their victory was not just about him. It was also a testament to the power of community solidarity and determination in achieving justice. Global outline. 1. The man, Ananya Du Bois, was a simple farm worker living on the outskirts of town in rural America. 2. He had grown up farming and always felt a sense of pride and responsibility for his community's well-being. However, when he stumbled upon an illegal dumping site one day, something inside him shifted. He realized that there were people who were exploiting their land and resources without permission, causing harm to the environment and to his neighbors. 3. Ananya Dubois became determined to confront those responsible and bring them down, no matter what it took. He knew that if he didn't act quickly enough, the damage would be irreparable. So he reached out to a local community group, a non-profit organization known for its commitment to environmental conservation, and they agreed to support his efforts. 4. Together, Ananya Dubois and the community group organized protests and rallies, demanding justice and accountability from those responsible for the illegal dumping site. They painted flyers on urban buildings, distributed flyers at the dump site, and even spoke out in local media interviews to raise awareness about the issue. 5. As word of their efforts spread, a growing number of people came together with Ananya Dubois to fight against the illegal dumping site and its impact on their community. Some were farmers who had seen firsthand how their livelihoods were being affected by it, while others were concerned about the health consequences for nearby residents due to contaminated soil. 6. The local police department was initially skeptical about Ananya Dubois's claims of trespassing at the dump site, but they soon realized that he was not a threat and decided to investigate further. They conducted an investigation into the site, which uncovered evidence of illegal dumping and pollution from multiple days of operation. 7. After gathering enough information, the police arrested several individuals involved in the illegal dumping process and charged them with criminal charges for environmental destruction and trespassing on private property. The community group was thrilled at the news, as they had been tirelessly working towards justice for years. 8. As the legal proceedings progressed, Ananya Dubois found himself facing significant opposition from those who were against his efforts to bring down the illegal dumping site. They claimed that he was targeting them personally and causing unnecessary harm to their livelihoods. However, Ananya Dubois knew better than anyone else how powerful community solidarity could be in achieving justice. He rallied support for him from other local residents, including farmers, environmental activists, and concerned citizens. 9. With the help of these allies, Ananya Dubois's trial became a fierce battle against corruption and oppression. The judge heard testimonies from witnesses who had first-hand experience with the illegal dumping site, as well as experts in environmental science to testify about the long-term impact on local ecosystems. 10. As the jury deliberated over the charges, several members of the community expressed their support for Ananya Dubois's efforts, while others criticized him for targeting them personally. However, the judge ultimately ruled in favor of Ananya Dubois and his allies, ordering a trial against those involved in the illegal dumping site to determine if they had indeed committed environmental crimes. 11. The verdict was met with shock and disbelief by many community members, who saw this as an injustice done to innocent people. They demanded that justice be served for all those affected by the illegal dumping site's impact on their health and well-being. 12. As the trial continued, Ananya Dubois faced numerous obstacles along the way. He had to deal with legal challenges from lawyers representing the defendants, as well as the media who were skeptical of his claims and portrayed him as a satanic. But he remained steadfast in his that justice was on his side. 13. The trial took months, but eventually, Ananya Dubois's team emerged victorious. They presented overwhelming evidence to the court, demonstrating the extent of the illegal dumping site's impact on local ecosystems and the health consequences for nearby residents. The defendants were found guilty of a variety of charges, including environmental destruction, trespassing, and conspiracy. 14. After the trial, community members celebrated Ananya Dubois's efforts as a hero in their eyes. They knew that he had faced immense opposition but persevered through it all to bring down the illegal dumping site and restore the health and beauty of their beloved rural town. 15. As the dust settled on this historic day, Ananya Dubois looked back at his journey with pride and fulfillment. He realized that justice is not just about winning a legal battle. It's also about working towards creating lasting change in our communities and ensuring that no one else has to endure the same suffering as he had faced. 16. The story of Ananya Dubois and the community group serves as an inspiration for others who may be facing injustice or oppression in their own lives, reminding them that they have the power within themselves to effect change, even when it seems impossible. They can stand together against corruption and oppression, no matter where it takes us, and work towards creating a more just society. 17. As Ananya Dubois looked out at the beautiful fields and rolling hills of his hometown on this sunny day in 2002. 3. He knew that his victory was not just about him. It was also about the countless others who had joined forces with him to bring down the illegal dumping site and restore their community's health and beauty. For Ananya Dubois, justice is a never-ending journey, one where they continue to fight for change and make a difference in the world. Global outline. Asterisk, they sent police to evict him from his own family land, claiming he was trespassing. The scene opens in a small town nestled on the rolling hills of India. Ananya Dubois, a young woman with dreams and ambitions, stands at the edge of his sprawling plot, surrounded by lush green fields and the gentle sway of trees that rustle gently in the wind. A sense of familiarity lingers within him as he looks back onto the land where he grew up, knowing it holds a special place in his heart. His family had been farming this land for generations, and Ananya's father was an influential figure who had worked tirelessly to maintain their traditions and values. But one fateful day, a group of developers approached them with offers of development rights, promising much-needed infrastructure and job opportunities for the town. However, when they began clearing out his family's land, claiming it was a violation of zoning laws, Ananya knew that something was wrong. He decided to take action against these evictees and organize a community group to defend their right to stay on their home soil. The initial resistance from some members of the town was initially met with skepticism, as they believed that Ananya's father had sold his land without proper documentation or consultation with the local authorities. But Ananya knew there were others in need too. He saw firsthand the devastating impact that illegal dumping and environmental pollution had on their community. The fields that once thrived with crops of wheat, rice, and vegetables were now barren wastelands, filled with garbage bags, broken glass, and toxic waste. The air was thick with a pungent smell of sewage and chemicals, and the water sources became contaminated, making it unsafe for human consumption. Despite the opposition from those who sought to evict Ananya's family, they continued to fight against the developers' plans, using their knowledge of local law and environmental regulations to challenge the legality of the eviction. They organized protests, rallies, and public meetings, highlighting the injustice faced by their community and demanding justice for all. As word spread about Ananya's efforts, more people began joining his cause, forming a dedicated group called the Cleaners. Together, they worked tirelessly, gathering evidence against the developers, submitting legal documents to court, and engaging in direct negotiations with them. They exposed the truth behind the evictees' claims of trespassing, pointing out that Ananya's father had been granted permission for development without proper documentation or consultation. The community group's efforts were met with resistance from the local authorities, who argued that Ananya was simply stirring up trouble and disrupting public order. But Ananya refused to back down, standing firm in his belief that he had a right to reclaim their land as part of the natural environment. As the legal battle raged on, Ananya's family faced mounting pressure from developers and government agencies, threatening to evict them permanently if they continued to resist. They were forced into hiding or relocating, leaving behind a trail of destruction that had long-lasting consequences for their community. But Ananya refused to be silenced. He remained committed to his cause, knowing that the fate of their land and livelihoods hung in the balance. Through sheer determination and unwavering perseverance, he continued to raise awareness about the issue and rally support from friends, family, and other like-minded individuals around the world. In 2023, after months of intense legal battles, a groundbreaking decision was made that changed everything for Ananya's community. A court ruled in their favor, stating that they had been entitled to challenge the illegal eviction and establish an official complaint against the developers. This victory not only vindicated his family, but also provided hope for other communities facing similar injustices. As news of this landmark decision spread across India and beyond, Ananya Du Bois became a symbol of courage and resilience in the face of adversity. He inspired countless others to stand up for their rights and fight against corruption and oppression, using his story as an example of what can be accomplished when communities come together and demand change. The Cleaners Group continued to work tirelessly, ensuring that justice was served not only on this particular case, but also in other similar situations. They established a network of local organizations, empowering individuals from all walks of life to take action against injustice and fight for the right to live in their communities. As they looked out over the fields once again, Ananya Du Bois reflected upon his journey thus far, feeling both elated by his victory and humbled by the challenges he had faced along the way. He knew that there was still much work to be done, but with each step forward, he felt a greater sense of purpose and fulfillment in their quest for justice. And as they looked out at the rolling hills once more, Ananya Du Bois resolved to continue fighting against injustice, not just on this particular land, but throughout his life. He knew that it was up to all of us, whether you are an individual or part of a larger community, to ensure that no one else has to endure the same suffering as he had faced and work towards creating lasting change in our world. I'm unfriending. Global outline. They sent cops to evict him from his own family land, claiming he was trespassing. The story begins with the discovery of a shocking act of illegal development on Ananya Du Bois's beloved farm in rural America. His wife and children had purchased their piece of paradise years ago, but an ambitious developer had arrived at their doorstep, determined to build luxury homes and commercial spaces that would destroy everything they loved. Local authorities were initially hesitant to take action against the developer due to his financial ties with powerful landowners within the community. They believed it was a matter of personal property rights rather than illegal development. However, Ananya Du Bois had always been passionate about preserving his family's land and its natural beauty for generations to come. As the investigation into the developer's activities progressed, Ananya learned that he not only violated local zoning laws, but also engaged in other unethical practices such as deforestation and water pollution. The community members began organizing against him through a network of local organizations dedicated to protecting their environment and advocating for fair compensation for those who had been affected by his actions. This organized effort gained traction, leading to protests and rallies across the region. As Ananya's reputation grew stronger, he became an advocate for land rights and environmental protection in other parts of rural America as well. He founded a non-profit organization called Green Hearts for Harmony, which aimed at promoting sustainable development practices that would preserve the natural environment while also supporting local communities. The Green Heart for Harmony network quickly gained credibility, with members from all walks of life coming together to support Ananya's cause and push back against illegal developments. They organized community cleanups in rural areas, planted trees and gardens, and advocated for stronger environmental regulations at both the state and federal levels. Asterisk as the conflict between Anaya and the developer escalated, a local judge ruled in his favor, ordering the developer to vacate the land within 6 months or face fines of up to $1 million. The developer appealed this decision, arguing that he had been forced into taking action by government pressure rather than their own will. Asterisk in court proceedings, Anaya faced intense questioning from both sides, including testimony from environmental activists and local residents who claimed they were affected by the developer's actions. Despite the strong case against him, an appeals board ultimately ruled in his favor, stating that the developer had violated zoning laws and committed other illegal activities on their land. Asterisk the decision sparked a wave of outrage throughout rural America, with many calling for stronger enforcement of environmental regulations and more stringent penalties for those who violate them. Anaya's actions became a symbol of resistance against corporate greed and the destruction of natural habitats, inspiring others to take action in their own communities. Asterisk in response, local governments began implementing stricter zoning laws and enforcing existing environmental regulations with renewed vigor. The Greenheart for Harmony Network played a crucial role in this process by providing guidance, resources, and support to community members who were impacted by the developer's activities. Asterisk as the dust settled on the legal battle, Anaya Du Bois continued to fight for his cause, not just against those who had previously evicted him, but also for the rights of future generations. He knew that it was an uphill struggle, but he refused to let go of his passion and commitment to preserving his family's land and its natural beauty. Asterisk in addition to fighting in court battles, Anaya launched a campaign called The Farm That Defended Us, which aimed at highlighting the importance of sustainable agriculture practices and raising awareness about the impact of corporate greed on our environment. He worked closely with farmers around the country who were struggling due to rising costs, droughts, and other challenges brought on by industrial farming. Asterisk the Farm That Defended Us campaign quickly gained traction, drawing support from both consumers and policymakers at all levels of government. Anaya's message resonated with those who believed that small-scale agriculture was not only a viable alternative, but also crucial for preserving our planet's biodiversity and supporting local communities. Asterisk as the years went by, Anaya's efforts to protect his family's land and its natural beauty gained national recognition, earning him numerous awards and accolades. He became an advocate for sustainable farming practices in many parts of America, inspiring others to adopt more environmentally friendly methods, while also promoting community-driven solutions that would help preserve our planet's health. Asterisk despite the challenges he faced along the way, Anaya Du Bois remained a true hero, not only because of his unwavering commitment to justice, but also for his dedication to preserving the natural world and fighting against corporate greed. He inspired others with his courage and resilience, showing that even in the face of adversity, one can make a difference by standing up for what is right. Continuation. They sent cops to evict him from his own family land, claiming he was trespassing. Asterisk Anaya Du Bois's decision not only violated local zoning laws, but also violated federal environmental regulations. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, had issued a directive in January that prohibited the construction of any industrial or residential projects on sensitive lands without proper authorization and compensation for those who were affected by such activities. Asterisk Anaya, along with his fellow activists from Green Hearts for Harmony, knew they had to act quickly to protect their land and its natural beauty. They filed an appeal against the EPA's directive, arguing that their actions were necessary to hold developers accountable for their unethical behavior on public lands. The appeals board granted Ananya's request in March, stating that his organization was acting in accordance with federal law by advocating for local government regulation of land development activities and seeking compensation from those who violated zoning laws. This decision sparked a renewed wave of activism across the country, as people began to recognize the need for stronger environmental regulations at all levels of government. The community's efforts led to a number of legal actions being taken against developers who had previously evicted Ananya's family from their land. In April, local governments in several states passed new zoning laws that explicitly prohibited industrial and residential projects on sensitive lands without proper authorization and compensation for those who were affected by such activities. These regulations not only protected the natural environment, but also ensured fair compensation to farmers and other community members impacted by developer actions. The Green Heart for Harmony network played a crucial role in coordinating these efforts, providing guidance and resources to local communities as they implemented new zoning laws and enforced existing environmental regulations. As the legal battles against developers continued, Ananya faced increased pressure from corporate interests who opposed his cause. They saw him as a threat not only to their profits, but also to the stability of rural America's economy and the well-being of its people. In response, some companies began to divest themselves of certain properties in anticipation of future legal challenges or even filing for bankruptcy due to the high costs associated with defending against environmental regulations. Others saw Ananya as a symbol of resistance against their practices and decided to take action by partnering with nonprofit organizations like Green Heart for Harmony and other community-based groups to support sustainable agriculture initiatives. The tension between corporate interests and local communities reached a boiling point in May, when a powerful landowner threatened legal action against the EPA's directive if they were not removed from sensitive lands. This move further strengthened Ananya's resolve, as he knew that any infringement on his organization's rights to speak out for environmental justice could lead to devastating consequences. In June, Ananya and Green Hearts for Harmony organized a public hearing in which community members and local government officials gathered to discuss the challenges facing rural America's land development industry and how to address them. The event brought together representatives from various stakeholders, including farmers, environmental activists, policymakers, and corporate leaders. During this meeting, Ananya outlined his vision of sustainable agriculture practices that would not only protect our planet, but also support local communities by providing affordable access to healthy food while preserving natural habitats. He spoke passionately about the need for policies that incentivized small-scale farming, promoted organic and regenerative agricultural methods, and required developers to disclose their environmental impacts before building any new projects. The crowd listened intently as Ananya presented his arguments, backed up by research on the benefits of sustainable agriculture practices, examples from other communities around the world that had successfully implemented such initiatives, and personal stories of farmers who were struggling due to rising costs and other challenges brought on by industrial farming. As the discussion continued, some members of the audience expressed concerns about the potential downsides of Ananya's proposed solutions. They argued that small-scale agriculture could lead to job losses for farm workers and increase food prices for those in need, particularly during times of economic hardship. To address these concerns, Ananya emphasized his commitment to working collaboratively with farmers and other stakeholders to develop policies that would balance the needs of both local communities and environmental protection. He proposed a range of measures, such as establishing community-supported agriculture programs, providing financial assistance for small-scale farms, and promoting farmer education on sustainable farming practices. The Green Heart for Harmony Network played an instrumental role in organizing these efforts, partnering with farmers and other stakeholders to develop policy recommendations that aligned with Ananya's vision. They provided guidance on how to design policies that would incentivize the development of affordable housing while preserving natural habitats' global outline. Ananya, a young environmental activist and founder of the Green Heart for Harmony Network, was on a mission to promote sustainable agriculture practices and address the challenges facing small farmers in rural communities. He had successfully implemented numerous initiatives aimed at improving living standards and preserving natural habitats, but his latest proposal faced skepticism from some members of the audience due to concerns about its potential downsides. Ananya's proposals focused on community-based agriculture programs, which allowed local communities to grow food locally while supporting small-scale farmers. These programs provided training, access to resources, and market opportunities for farmers, helping them to thrive in a rapidly changing agricultural landscape. By working with farmer associations, he established partnerships that prioritize the development of affordable housing alongside sustainable land management practices. Ananya also proposed providing financial assistance to small-scale farms, particularly during times of economic hardship. This support would help farmers overcome costs associated with inputs like seeds and fertilizers, which often eat into their profits. He believed in incentivizing sustainable agriculture by offering subsidies for crop rotation, reduced pesticide use, and organic farming practices that not only benefit the environment, but also promote healthy soil health. To address concerns about job losses due to industrial farming, Ananya highlighted his commitment to collaborating with farmers and other stakeholders to develop policies that would balance the needs of both local communities and environmental protection. He proposed a range of measures, such as establishing community-supported agriculture programs, CSAs, and farmer education initiatives that emphasize sustainable land management practices. The Green Heart for Harmony Network played an instrumental role in organizing these efforts, partnering with farmers and other stakeholders to develop policy recommendations that aligned with Ananya's vision. They provided guidance on how to design policies that would incentivize the development of affordable housing while preserving natural habitats. This collaboration allowed them to build a comprehensive plan that took into account both social and environmental factors. The network worked closely with local communities, including small farmers, landowners, and community organizations, to gather input and feedback from stakeholders on various aspects of sustainable agriculture practices. They conducted surveys, workshops, and field visits to understand the challenges faced by small-scale farms, as well as the benefits that could be achieved through these initiatives. The network's findings revealed several critical issues facing small farmers in rural communities. Firstly, many were unable to access affordable land due to a lack of available resources or market demand for their products. This made it challenging for them to invest in inputs like seeds and fertilizers, which can eat into profits. Secondly, the increasing competition from large-scale industrial farms meant that smaller farmers had fewer options for finding markets. Many small-scale producers struggled to compete with established brands that were often able to buy land at high prices due to their size or marketing strategies. Thirdly, climate change was becoming a significant threat to agricultural productivity and profitability. Extreme weather events like droughts, floods, and pests could severely impact crop yields, leading to food shortages and higher prices for consumers. To address this issue, Ananya proposed promoting sustainable land management practices that were more resilient to the effects of climate change. Fourthly, small-scale farmers often lacked access to quality seeds and fertilizers, which are crucial inputs in agriculture. This lack of resources made it challenging for them to grow high-quality crops and compete effectively with larger farms. Fifthly, there was a shortage of skilled labor in rural communities, particularly for sustainable farming practices such as crop rotation, organic farming, and integrated pest management, IPM. Many farmers struggled to find qualified professionals who could provide the training and expertise needed to implement these techniques on their land. To address these challenges, Ananya proposed several policy recommendations that aimed at promoting sustainable agriculture in rural communities. Firstly, he called for increased investment in research and development initiatives that focused on developing new crop varieties that were more resilient to climate change and pests. This would help farmers adapt to changing environmental conditions and improve their yields. Secondly, Ananya emphasized the importance of strengthening local food systems by providing incentives for small-scale producers to transition to sustainable agriculture practices. He proposed creating a system where farmers who adopted these practices could receive financial support from government programs or private investors, helping them cover the initial investment costs. Thirdly, he called for increased access to education and training opportunities for small-scale farmers. This would help farmers acquire the knowledge and skills needed to implement sustainable farming practices effectively on their land. He proposed establishing community schools that provided hands-on instruction in crop rotation, organic farming, IPM, among other topics related to sustainability. Fourthly, he called for the development of market incentives that support local food systems. By promoting the sale of locally grown produce at farmers' markets and restaurants, Ananya aimed to increase demand for sustainably produced foods and create a more vibrant and resilient agricultural industry in rural communities. Fifthly, he proposed implementing policies that promote conservation practices such as soil health management, water conservation, and habitat restoration. These measures would help farmers maintain healthy soils, prevent erosion, and protect biodiversity, which are critical factors supporting sustainable agriculture. In summary, Ananya's proposals aim to address the challenges facing small-scale farmers in rural communities by promoting community-based agriculture programs, providing financial assistance, developing farmer education initiatives, addressing job losses due to industrial farming, promoting climate change resilience, improving access to quality seeds and fertilizers, investing in research and development, increasing access to education and training opportunities, and supporting market incentives. These measures would not only benefit small-scale farmers directly, but also contribute to the overall health of local food systems and protect the environment for future generations. The Greenheart for Harmony Network played a crucial role in organizing these efforts by collaborating with farmers and other stakeholders on policy recommendations that aligned with Ananya's vision. The network provided guidance, resources, and expertise to help develop comprehensive plans that addressed key challenges faced by small-scale agriculture in rural communities. Their collaboration allowed them to build a coalition of local organizations, businesses, and governments that work together towards a shared goal, promoting sustainable agriculture practices and creating resilient food systems for the future. As the discussion continued, Ananya emphasized the importance of incorporating these initiatives into broader national policies that would support small-scale farmers in their transition to more environmentally friendly farming practices. He proposed advocating for increased government funding for research and development efforts, policy incentives for transitioning to organic or sustainable agriculture, education programs that empower consumers with knowledge about sustainably produced foods, and market reforms that promote local food systems. The audience expressed mixed reactions, some acknowledging the potential benefits of Ananya's proposals, while others expressing concerns over their potential downsides. To address these concerns, Ananya emphasized the importance of conducting thorough research to understand the impact of his initiatives on small-scale farmers and their communities. He proposed holding public workshops and forums where stakeholders could share their experiences with sustainable agriculture practices, as well as gather input from experts in the field. Ananya also highlighted the need for a comprehensive approach that considered both economic and social factors when developing policies aimed at promoting sustainability in rural communities. This would ensure that his initiatives did not inadvertently harm local economies or exacerbate existing inequalities between small-scale farmers and larger commercial farms. To address concerns about job losses due to industrial farming, Ananya proposed working with farmer associations to develop training programs for workers who had been displaced by large-scale operations. He emphasized the importance of providing education and retraining opportunities that could help these workers find new employment in sustainable agriculture practices or other related fields. In addition, Ananya suggested promoting alternative livelihoods such as beekeeping, livestock farming, or tourism, which can provide additional income streams for small-scale farmers while preserving their traditional agricultural practices. He emphasized the value of community-based tourism initiatives and worked with local communities to develop marketing campaigns that highlighted the unique flavors and aesthetics of locally grown products. To address concerns about the potential downsides of his proposals on environmental conservation, Ananya proposed implementing policies that promote sustainable land management practices such as reducing deforestation and promoting carbon sequestration. He emphasized the importance of preserving natural habitats and ensuring the long-term health of ecosystems to support biodiversity and maintain climate resilience. Ananya's initiatives also sparked conversations about the role of government in supporting small-scale agriculture, particularly during times of economic hardship or crisis. He proposed advocating for increased funding from national budgets, as well as partnerships with private sector actors such as foundations, NGOs, and investors. In conclusion, Ananya's proposals to promote sustainable agriculture practices in rural communities presented a promising path towards creating resilient food systems that benefit both small-scale farmers and the broader community. By addressing key challenges facing local agriculture, including access to resources, market opportunities, job losses due to industrial farming, climate change resilience, education and training, and alternative livelihoods, Ananya's initiatives had the potential to create real-world impact on rural communities. The Greenheart for Harmony Network played a crucial role in organizing these efforts by collaborating with farmers, other stakeholders, government agencies, and private sector actors. Their expertise and resources allowed them to develop comprehensive plans that addressed both economic and social factors while considering the unique challenges faced by small-scale agriculture in rural areas. As the discussion continued, Ananya emphasized the importance of ongoing research, collaboration between communities and stakeholders, and a holistic approach that recognized the need for multiple layers of support. He proposed holding regular community meetings to gather feedback from farmers, landowners, and other affected actors, as well as engaging with government agencies and private sector partners to develop policies and programs. As the team of law enforcement officers arrived at the Ananya's farm, they were met with a familiar scene. The sprawling grounds surrounded by lush greenery and towering trees provided ample shade for the farmers tending to their crops. The property was nestled in a valley between two hills, providing excellent access to water sources and fertile soil. The police department had been called upon by Ananya's network, Greenheart for Harmony, GHF, which had worked tirelessly to protect local agriculture from industrial farming practices that threatened its sustainability. GHF recognized the importance of sustainable agricultural practices not only in preserving rural communities, but also in ensuring long-term economic growth and social well-being. The team was led by Detective Jameson, a seasoned detective with expertise in environmental crimes and community-based justice programs. He had been part of an investigation into Ananya's activities several months ago when they discovered evidence linking him to illegal land disposals, deforestation, and exploitation of local natural resources for industrial farming purposes. The case had taken a toll on the agricultural sector, leading to job losses, environmental degradation, and social unrest. Detective Jameson was eager to assess the situation at Ananya's farm and determine if there were any signs of illegal activities that could have led to this eviction notice. As they entered the property, they observed an open field with rows of crops stretching as far as the eye could see, showcasing a thriving agricultural system based on sustainable practices such as crop rotation, intercropping, and cover cropping. Upon closer inspection, Detective Jameson noticed several signs that suggested illegal activities were taking place. The fields surrounding the farm had been cleared extensively using heavy machinery, removing any vegetation or natural barriers to access the land. The soil was bare and cracked due to excessive use of pesticides and fertilizers in attempts to improve crop yields. Moreover, there were visible cracks and erosion on the walls and foundations of several buildings that appeared to have recently undergone renovation. In a meeting with GHF's executive director, Mr. Singh, Detective Jameson explained his findings and requested information about Ananya's activities during the months leading up to the eviction notice. Mr. Singh shared details about their work with local farmers, highlighting the importance of education, training, and access to markets for small-scale agricultural producers. He also disclosed that GHF had worked closely with a number of government agencies and private sector partners in identifying potential illegal land disposals, deforestation, and other environmental violations on Ananya's farm. They had conducted site investigations, obtained legal documents, and gathered evidence from eyewitnesses, including local farmers who shared their experiences working alongside Ananya. As the conversation continued, Detective Jameson emphasized the need for a holistic approach that considered not only economic factors, but also social and environmental implications of industrial farming practices in rural communities. He proposed holding regular community meetings to gather feedback from affected actors such as landowners, small-scale farmers, local government officials, and residents on GHF's initiatives. Community involvement is crucial, he argued. We need a platform for stakeholders to voice their concerns and share insights about the challenges they face in transitioning to sustainable agriculture practices. Mr. Singh agreed and shared that GHF was working closely with these groups to develop comprehensive plans that addressed both economic and social factors while considering the unique challenges faced by small-scale agriculture. The team also delved into the education and training programs offered by Ananya's network, which aimed at empowering local farmers to adopt sustainable farming practices. These initiatives included workshops on crop rotation, composting, soil management, pest control, and water conservation techniques. They emphasized that access to these knowledge and skills would not only increase productivity, but also support long-term economic growth in rural communities. Detective Jameson highlighted the importance of alternative livelihoods for farmers who had been displaced from their land due to industrial farming practices. GHF's initiatives were working towards creating job opportunities by supporting local businesses, such as agroforestry ventures and cooperatives that rely on sustainable agriculture practices. He mentioned several successful examples in other rural communities where these efforts have helped revitalize the economy while preserving natural resources. As the conversation progressed, Detective Jameson shared information about GHF's partnerships with government agencies to develop policies and programs aimed at mitigating the negative impacts of industrial farming practices. They had worked on issues such as food sovereignty, environmental regulations, and access to markets for small-scale producers. These efforts have not only protected local agriculture, but also safeguarded the health and well-being of communities that depend on these resources. However, Detective Jameson emphasized that GHF's work was far from complete, and there were still several challenges they needed to address in order to fully realize their objectives. He highlighted the importance of continued research, collaboration between governments, private sector partners, and local communities to develop more effective solutions that addressed not only illegal activities, but also broader systemic issues facing rural agriculture. We need a systematic approach, he said. There are no silver bullets for sustainable agriculture in all contexts, including those located in remote or fragile ecosystems where industrial farming practices pose significant risks. He proposed establishing regular forums and networks to bring together experts from academia, government agencies, private sector partners, and affected communities to share knowledge, perspectives, and best practices. In conclusion, the team of law enforcement officers arrived at Ananya's farm seeking answers to the eviction notice for illegal land disposals, deforestation, and exploitation of local natural resources. Their investigation revealed a thriving agricultural system based on sustainable farming practices that provided economic benefits while preserving environmental health and social well-being in rural communities. Ananya had been working with GHF since several months ago to develop comprehensive plans addressing not only illegal activities, but also the broader societal implications of industrial farming practices in these areas. The team emphasized the importance of community involvement, education, training programs, alternative livelihoods for affected farmers, government policies and partnerships aimed at mitigating negative impacts, and continued research and collaboration. Detective Jameson proposed holding regular meetings to gather feedback from stakeholders and identify key gaps that needed to be addressed in order to fully realize GHF's objectives. The team recognized the ongoing need for a holistic approach that considered not only economic factors, but also social and environmental implications of industrial farming practices, which was essential in ensuring long-term sustainability and resilience in rural communities. The Greenheart for Harmony Network played a crucial role in organizing these efforts by collaborating with farmers, other stakeholders, government agencies, and private sector actors. Their expertise and resources allowed them to develop comprehensive plans that addressed both economic and social factors while considering the unique challenges faced by small-scale agriculture in rural areas. With their dedication and commitment, Ananya's initiatives had the potential to create real-world impact on these communities through sustainable agriculture practices that would not only benefit local farmers, but also promote food security, environmental health, and social well-being for generations to come. The global outline. 1. They sent cops to evict him from his own family land, claiming he was trespassing. 2. The town's economy and livelihoods were affected by the industrial farming practices that led to deforestation, soil degradation, pollution, and a decline in biodiversity. 3. Government policies aimed at mitigating negative impacts on local ecosystems started to emerge through collaborations with farmers, NGOs, and private sector actors like Green Heart for Harmony, GHF. 4. GHF's network of experts worked closely with Ananya Rama, an ambitious entrepreneur who had previously launched similar initiatives focused on sustainable agriculture in rural India. 5. Together, they developed a comprehensive plan that addressed both economic factors and social implications of industrial farming practices while considering the unique challenges faced by small-scale farmers in rural areas. 6. The GHF's objectives were to create a Green Heart for Harmony ecosystem where ecological integrity was prioritized over short-term profits, promoting food security, environmental health, and socio-economic development. 7. To achieve this goal, Ananya focused on several key initiatives that involved collaboration with farmers, research institutions, private sector partners, government agencies, and non-governmental organizations, NGOs. 8. The first step in their initiative was to establish a network of local agricultural cooperatives, where small-scale farmers could share resources and expertise while receiving fair market prices for their produce. 9. This collaborative model not only helped support the development of sustainable agriculture, but also fostered a sense of community among farmers, providing them with access to crucial information, advice, and technical assistance. 10. Ananya's vision extended beyond just agricultural practices. She was committed to promoting social and environmental sustainability in rural communities through education programs, capacity building for local small-scale businesses, and the provision of alternative livelihoods like beekeeping or sustainable aquaculture. 11. GHF worked with local schools, NGOs, and government agencies to develop comprehensive educational programs that taught students about the importance of biodiversity preservation and the impact of industrial farming on ecosystems. 12. These initiatives not only equipped young people with knowledge, but also fostered a sense of responsibility towards their community's future by encouraging them to become environmental stewards in their own villages. 13. In addition, GHF supported local small-scale businesses that were focused on sustainable agricultural practices, providing training and resources to help them transition from traditional agriculture to more environmentally friendly systems. 14. By promoting the development of resilient livelihoods for farmers like Ananya's network, she aimed at reducing poverty and increasing food security in rural communities while also preserving natural ecosystems for future generations. 15. GHF's approach involved not only addressing immediate environmental challenges, but also fostering long-term changes that would benefit both small-scale farmers and society as a whole. 16. To achieve this, the team worked closely with local governments to develop policies and regulations aimed at protecting biodiversity, promoting sustainable agriculture practices, and mitigating negative impacts on soil health. 17. These initiatives included setting aside protected lands for agricultural use, implementing agroforestry techniques, and encouraging conservation measures like crop rotation and integrated livestock management. 18. GHF also collaborated with government agencies to conduct research studies that provided insights into the ecological impact of industrial farming practices on ecosystems and the potential benefits associated with transitioning to sustainable agriculture methods. 19. The results from these studies not only informed policy decisions, but also helped build public support for the transition towards more environmentally friendly agricultural systems, as stakeholders recognized the urgent need for a holistic approach that considered both economic factors and social implications. 20. Ananya's initiatives were supported by international organizations like the Food and Agriculture Organization FAO, and the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, which provided technical assistance, knowledge sharing, and financial support to help scale up these efforts in other rural areas across the globe. 21. The Green Heart for Harmony Network worked tirelessly to promote the adoption of sustainable agriculture practices on a global level by collaborating with governments, NGOs, private sector partners, and local communities at various levels. 22. By engaging farmers, research institutions, NGOs, and international organizations in these collaborations, Ananya's initiatives had the potential to influence systemic change and accelerate the transition towards more environmentally friendly agricultural systems worldwide. 23. As GHF continued its work on creating a green heart for harmony ecosystem across multiple countries, they recognized that each region had unique challenges, cultural contexts, and economic dynamics that required tailored solutions. The global outline. 1. They sent cops to a victim from his own family land, claiming he was trespassing. 2. The town's economy and livelihoods were affected by the industrial farming practices that led to deforestation, soil degradation, pollution, and a decline in biodiversity. 3. Government policies aimed at mitigating negative impacts on local ecosystems started to emerge through collaborations with farmers, NGOs, and private sector actors like Green Heart for Harmony, GHF. 4. GHF's network of experts worked closely with Ananya Rama, an ambitious entrepreneur who had previously launched similar initiatives focused on sustainable agriculture in rural India. 5. Together, they developed a comprehensive plan that addressed both economic factors and social implications of industrial farming practices while considering the unique challenges faced by small-scale farmers in rural areas. 6. The GHF's objectives were to create a green heart for harmony ecosystem where ecological integrity was prioritized over short-term profits, promoting food security, environmental health, and socio-economic development. 7. To achieve this goal, Ananya focused on several key initiatives that involve collaboration with farmers, research institutions, private sector partners, government agencies, and non-governmental organizations, NGOs. 8. The first step in their initiative was to establish a network of local agricultural cooperatives, where small-scale farmers could share resources and expertise while receiving fair market prices for their produce. 9. This collaborative model not only helped support the development of sustainable agriculture, but also fostered a sense of community among farmers, providing them with access to crucial information, advice, and technical assistance. 10. Ananya's vision extended beyond just agricultural practices. She was committed to promoting social and environmental sustainability in rural communities through education programs, capacity building for local small-scale businesses, and the provision of alternative livelihoods like beekeeping or sustainable aquaculture. 11. GHF worked with local schools, NGOs, and government agencies to develop comprehensive educational programs that taught students about the importance of biodiversity preservation and the impact of industrial farming on ecosystems. 12. These initiatives not only equipped young people with knowledge, but also fostered a sense of responsibility towards their community's future by encouraging them to become environmental stewards in their own villages. 13. In addition, GHF supported local small-scale businesses that were focused on sustainable agricultural practices, providing training and resources to help them transition from traditional agriculture to more environmentally friendly systems. 14. By promoting the development of resilient livelihoods for farmers like Ananya's network, she aimed at reducing poverty and increasing food security in rural communities while also preserving natural ecosystems for future generations. 15. GHF's approach involved not only addressing immediate environmental challenges, but also fostering long-term changes that would benefit both small-scale farmers and society as a whole. 16. To achieve this, the team worked closely with local governments to develop policies and regulations aimed at protecting biodiversity, promoting sustainable agriculture practices, and mitigating negative impacts on soil health. 17. These initiatives included setting aside protected lands for agricultural use, implementing agroforestry techniques, and encouraging conservation measures like crop rotation and integrated livestock management. 18. GHF also collaborated with government agencies to conduct research studies that provided insights into the ecological impact of industrial farming practices on ecosystems and the potential benefits associated with transitioning to sustainable agriculture methods. 19. The results from these studies not only informed policy decisions, but also helped build public support for the transition towards more environmentally friendly agricultural systems, as stakeholders recognized the urgent need for a holistic approach that considered both economic factors and social implications. 20. Ananya's initiatives were supported by international organizations like the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, and the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, which provided technical assistance, knowledge sharing, and financial support to help scale up these efforts in other rural areas across the globe. 21. The Green Heart for Harmony Network worked tirelessly to promote the adoption of sustainable agriculture practices on a global level by collaborating with governments, NGOs, private sector partners, and local communities at various levels. /n/ and extend and continue the story. The Green Heart for Harmony. A new path to sustainable farming. The Green Heart for Harmony Network, a global organization dedicated to promoting the adoption of sustainable agriculture practices, had been at the forefront of this transformationary movement since its inception in 2015. Founded by Ananya, Asha Sharma and her team, GHF aimed to empower rural communities across the globe to transition away from conventional agricultural methods that were detrimental to their environment, economy, and social well-being. GHF's strategy was a comprehensive blend of education, research, policy advocacy, technological innovations, and collaboration between governments, NGOs, private sector partners, and local communities at various levels. Their focus on agroforestry techniques, integrated livestock management, conservation measures such as crop rotation and soil health practices, and the promotion of locally grown and adapted crops were key elements in this holistic approach. Ananya's vision was a world where agriculture not only provided for food, but also contributed to sustainable development by supporting ecosystem resilience, preserving biodiversity, promoting social equity, and fostering local livelihoods. The Green Heart Network recognized that addressing these interconnected issues required collaboration across sectors, governments at all levels, farmers, consumers, researchers, and non-governmental organizations, NGOs. One of the first steps GHF took was to organize workshops and training sessions for agricultural producers in rural areas worldwide. These workshops covered topics such as climate change adaptation, soil health management, integrated pest control systems, organic farming techniques, seed variety selection, and post-harvest processing methods. Ananya encouraged farmers to adopt these practices not only due to their potential environmental benefits, but also because they were cost-effective, labor-intensive, and had a strong track record of producing high-quality food. As the workshops progressed, GHF collaborated with governments at all levels, including national departments responsible for agriculture, environment, rural development, and health. These collaborations aimed at creating policies that incentivized sustainable farming practices while ensuring access to markets, finance, technical assistance, and regulatory frameworks. For example, in India, the Green Heart Network worked closely with the Ministry of Agriculture to develop a comprehensive agricultural productivity enhancement program, a PEEP, that provided subsidies for farmers adopting agroforestry techniques, soil health management measures, and organic farming practices. In addition, GHF supported research studies on the ecological impacts of industrial agriculture on ecosystems and potential benefits associated with transitioning towards more sustainable agricultural systems. These studies not only informed policy decisions, but also helped build public support for these initiatives, as stakeholders recognized the urgent need to address climate change, environmental degradation, food insecurity, and social inequality simultaneously. One such study was conducted in Peru's Central Andean region by GHF and local universities on agroforestry practices that promoted carbon sequestration. The researchers found that the implementation of trees and shrubs along with crop rotation and livestock management strategies increased soil organic matter content, improved water retention capacity, reduced erosion, and enhanced biodiversity. These findings not only supported Peru's national policy objectives, but also provided valuable insights for other countries facing similar challenges. Another study was carried out in Kenya by GHF, the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and local research institutions to assess the economic feasibility of sustainable agricultural practices on smallholder farms. The study found that agroforestry techniques not only contributed to increased crop yields, but also generated higher returns for farmers through improved soil health, reduced input costs, and enhanced market access. GHF's policy advocacy efforts targeted policymakers at all levels, from national-level ministers to local community leaders, highlighting the economic benefits of sustainable agriculture practices as well as their social impacts on rural communities. The network worked closely with NGOs, private sector partners, and non-governmental organizations, NGOs, to mobilize public support for these initiatives by organizing awareness-raising campaigns, disseminating information through farmer education programs, engaging in policy dialogue, and advocating for government policies that incentivized sustainable agriculture practices. To scale up GHF's efforts globally, the Green Heart Network established partnerships with international organizations like the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, and the United Nations Development Program, UNDP. These collaborations provided technical assistance, knowledge sharing, and financial support to help countries transition towards more environmentally friendly agricultural systems. For instance, 1. FAO supported Peru's PEEP by providing guidance on crop diversification strategies, soil fertility management practices, and agroforestry technologies for smallholder farmers. 2. The UNDP worked with GHF in Kenya to provide funding for research projects that examined the economic viability of sustainable agriculture practices through market assessments, financial modeling, and agricultural productivity analysis. GHF also engaged local communities at various levels by organizing capacity-building workshops, field demonstrations, and knowledge exchange events where community members could learn about sustainable farming techniques, access resources, and share their experiences with other farmers. These initiatives not only promoted the adoption of sustainable agriculture practices, but also fostered a sense of ownership, pride, and resilience among rural residents. One such event was hosted in India's Haryana state, which had been grappling with water scarcity due to droughts and pollution caused by industrial farming practices. The GHF organized a workshop that featured farmers from different agricultural landscapes sharing their experiences and knowledge on sustainable irrigation techniques using rainwater harvesting systems, drip irrigation systems, DHS, and groundwater recharge methods. The workshops were followed by field visits to local communities where participants learned about the implementation of these technologies in conjunction with conservation measures like soil health management practices. These visitations helped farmers understand the benefits of adopting these innovative solutions while also addressing their specific challenges such as water accessibility, lack of knowledge on proper irrigation techniques, and limited access to technical assistance. The Green Heart Network's success was not just about promoting sustainable agriculture, but also fostering a culture of environmental stewardship and community engagement. The organization encouraged local farmers to adopt agroforestry practices that addressed the ecological impacts of industrial farming while contributing to their livelihoods. By working closely with stakeholders at various levels, GHF created a sense of ownership among rural communities towards creating resilient ecosystems, promoting biodiversity conservation, addressing social inequality, and supporting sustainable economic development. Over time, GHF's efforts led to significant changes in agricultural practices worldwide, not only in the countries where it operates, but also beyond. The Green Heart Network collaborated with governments, NGOs, private sector partners, and local communities at all levels to drive policy change, build awareness, and scale up these initiatives on a global level. In 2019, GHF organized an international conference on sustainable agriculture in Hyderabad, India, where leading experts from various sectors discussed the latest research findings, best practices, and challenges faced by sustainable agriculture. The conference was attended by more than 5,000 participants, including policymakers, farmers, researchers, NGOs, private sector partners, civil society organizations, and media outlets worldwide. The conference provided a platform for exchanging knowledge, experiences, and ideas on the future of sustainable agriculture, focusing not only on developing new technologies, but also addressing issues such as climate change adaptation, food security, rural development, and poverty alleviation. The event generated significant interest from governments, NGOs, private sector partners, and international organizations working towards achieving a more harmonious coexistence between humans and nature. As the global landscape continued to shift towards sustainable agriculture practices, GHF's work remained at the forefront of this transformational movement. Their commitment to empowering rural communities across the globe through education, research, policy advocacy, technological innovations, and collaboration helped shape a new narrative that prioritized environmental resilience, social equity, economic development, and local ownership. In conclusion, the Green Heart for Harmony Network has been instrumental in promoting sustainable agriculture practices globally, contributing significantly towards achieving a more environmentally friendly agricultural system. Their approach to agroforestry techniques, integrated livestock management, conservation measures, and policy advocacy have not only impacted farmers' livelihoods, but also transformed the landscape of rural communities worldwide. As GHF continues its work towards creating a resilient future for smallholder farmers, it remains essential that governments, NGOs, private sector partners, and local communities at all levels collaborate to ensure equitable access to resources, support research-based solutions, and prioritize environmental protection. The Green Heart Network's legacy serves as an inspiration for others who are committed to promoting sustainable agriculture practices not only in their countries, but also globally, creating a world where agriculture can coexist harmoniously with nature while contributing towards social, economic, and ecological sustainability. The Green Heart for Harmony Network, founded by a group of dedicated individuals and organizations across the globe, has been on a mission to revolutionize agriculture practices by promoting sustainable farming techniques that prioritize environmental resilience, social equity, economic development, and local ownership. Their unwavering commitment to empowering rural communities through education, research, policy advocacy, technological innovations, and collaboration has transformed global agricultural systems into more environmentally friendly, socially equitable, economically viable, and self-sustaining enterprises. GHF's approach involves the integration of agroforestry practices, sustainable livestock management, conservation measures, and innovative farming technologies to address pressing environmental challenges such as soil degradation, climate change, pests, and diseases. By diversifying crop rotations, promoting organic agriculture, embracing precision agriculture techniques, implementing integrated pest management strategies, and investing in water-saving infrastructure, GHF aims to create a more resilient agricultural system that can withstand the impacts of changing climatic conditions while ensuring food security for communities worldwide. One key element of GHF's approach is its emphasis on local ownership. The network works closely with farmers, rural community leaders, and government officials at various levels to identify their unique needs, challenges, and opportunities in sustainable agriculture practices. This collaborative effort enables GHF to design tailored solutions that address specific regions' agricultural landscapes, soil types, weather patterns, and resource constraints. GHF's research efforts are a vital component of its work, focusing on understanding the factors driving climate change impacts, the role of pests and diseases in crop production, and emerging trends such as vertical farming and precision agriculture. Through these studies, GHF can identify effective strategies to mitigate climate change risks, promote sustainable livestock husbandry practices, improve soil health, reduce pesticide use, and enhance resilience against foodborne illnesses. In addition to research-based solutions, GHF advocates for the adoption of innovative technologies that support smallholder farmers' livelihoods while reducing their environmental footprint. These include precision irrigation systems, hydroponic farming systems, genetically modified crops, and digital tools such as crop monitoring apps and weather forecasting platforms. By leveraging these technological advancements, GHF empowers farmers to maximize yields, reduce waste, conserve resources, and ensure food security for a growing global population. GHF's policy advocacy efforts aim at advocating for sustainable agriculture policies that promote equitable access to land, finance, and markets. The network works with governments across the globe to implement agricultural sector reforms such as subsidies for organic farming, climate-smart irrigation schemes, conservation measures in protected areas, and support for rural development programs. Moreover, GHF engages stakeholders including farmers, researchers, civil society organizations, and international institutions at various levels to advocate for policy changes that align with sustainable agriculture practices while addressing pressing environmental concerns. To achieve its vision of a green heart for harmony network, GHF collaborates with local communities, NGOs, private sector partners, and academic institutions across the globe. These collaborations foster knowledge exchange, capacity building, and collaboration in promoting agroforestry techniques, organic farming systems, conservation measures, and sustainable livestock management practices. The network's approach to sustainability education empowers farmers and rural community members to adopt environmentally friendly agricultural practices by providing access to training programs, workshops, extension services, and educational resources.